So as a follow-up to my last video, I thought today we'd actually have a look at a previous generation TCR SL Advanced and then my new Advanced Pro Zero disc. So this is the sort of 2017, I think this came in, 2016 maybe, and then obviously this is the new 2021. Now there is a massive caveat, which is that this is an SL, so it's got the integrated seat post, and the new sort of general purpose bike obviously doesn't have the integrated seat post. So there are differences in the carbon layup, but I thought just it would be interesting to look at these from a geometry point of view and see how massively different they are. So if we look at these head on, actually the biggest thing you notice, don't worry so much about the saddle height, because that's just because that one's on a stand and that one isn't because it's a disc brake. It's the fork. Okay, obviously we've got rim brakes here, but look at the fork, it's sort of pretty straight, going all the way down, obviously flared, but straight. Whereas if you look at the fork on this one, you've got a definite bow going on. Now obviously you've got to make room for the disc brake, but I suspect that not only are we getting increased tyre clearance, and bear in mind these are 28mm on the new bike as opposed to 25s, as you can quite clearly see the difference on the old bike, but I suspect that that shaping has some significant aero advantage as well. In terms of the actual sort of steerer tube, I'm not getting the wording right there for sure, they don't look actually massively different to me. A trained eye would probably spot better differences. I mean, they look overall the same sort of design philosophy, and I'd say that also extends into the down tubes. I expected to actually see a bigger difference in the two different down tubes than actually there is. I'm sure they've made a play about the fact that the new down tube does a better job of hiding the bottle cages from the wind, but they're pretty subtle changes, I think. What I think is a lot more noticeable is the seat tube. So this is obviously the previous generation. It's pretty straight, nothing terribly clever going on there. Whereas if we go to the old one and go through the middle of the cell frame to show it, you can see definitely more aero profiling, more cut out for the tyre. So definitely more like the old Propel there in terms of the shape. In terms of where it sort of joins the top tube, again, bear in mind we're comparing an ISP with a non-ISP. Not massively different. Again, the changes they've made to these bikes, pretty subtle. The TCR's always had fairly delicate seat stays. That doesn't seem to have changed an awful lot. So another thing obviously is, being a top spec bike, this has the SLR bars, stem, whereas coming off my old 2019 bike we just have the SL stuff here. I don't know what a massive difference that makes. I kind of used to like the look of this, but actually the simplicity of that isn't unattractive. What is interesting is if you look at the bar heights, bear in mind the front wheels are both on the ground. Those are near as damn it, the same. Whereas when you have a sort of small amount of spacer under here, definitely got more spacers here. So it does suggest that the geometry of the bike has changed a little bit in the intervening time. From behind, I don't see a massive difference. Again, somebody with a better eye than me will probably see more going on than I am, but they're recognisably both TCRs, even though obviously one is a disc and doesn't have the integrated seat post. You can definitely see that fork flaring out, it is quite noticeable, whereas the rest of the tubing seems pretty, uniform. Yeah, you can see the fork's quite different there. Anyway, there you have it. Two TCRs, very much, brethren of each other. Really clear that they are born from the same stable, as it were. But different bikes, and I'm going to continue riding the non-ISP in the new 2021 and see what I think. But I'm enjoying it so far. I have to say it's a really nice bike. So I don't think anyone that goes for it would be very disappointed at all. So I thought we'd finish off just by grabbing my old previous generation Propel out of the shed, just to sort of do a side-by-side comparison, specifically looking at the sort of the aero tubing, and as I mentioned before, that seat tube, you know, definitely can see the aero design on the Propel. In fact, it's got the horizontal top bar, so it's not the compact geometry that the TCR is obviously known for. You can see it side by side, massive downslope on the top tube of the TCR compared to nothing at all on the Propel. That back wheel cut out, and then very aero posts, which again we can see they've sort of mimicked a little bit on the new TCR, which you can compare to the old TCR behind, much more straight, less aero profiling. Anyway, there you go. I do enjoy riding that Propel still. It's really a lovely bike, albeit a bit harsh. Probably you know, tubeless bigger tires might make it a little bit softer. Decent brakes would also be a great addition to that bike. It really doesn't like stopping, especially not compared to these new disc bikes. That, you know, the number one reason you'd ride one of these disc bikes now is the stopping power. It's just I much prefer it. But anyway, if you have any more questions on any of the bikes, give me a shout, and if you'd like to see a review of the Trinity, which is my time trial bike, let me know.